Hello, everyone. Okay, that was ridiculously formal and maybe unnecessarily so. But welcome back to what I assume is episode 5. Ryan's nodding. It is episode 5 of the Icebreakers podcast. As usual, actually not as usual, Ben decided to not join us last week, and he has come back. His redemptive arc,
Just
almost
about.
not making it. Yeah, just about. Yeah, with 2 minutes to spare, we almost replaced him with another DCU head. Shout out Simplify for almost coming in clutch for us. We appreciate that. Ben is here. He's very prepared, very organized, and ready to talk some collegiate Counter-Strike. And I'm also joined by, as usual, the punctual, the technical Ryan Fleming. Thank you for coming, Ryan.
Well, I run the stream, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you run the stream. I run the show. Let's keep it like that,
Yeah.
okay? And then finally, we are gratefully joined by Magic. Or I always do a mixture between your in-game name and your actual name. So I apologize to everyone. His Magic is in-game name. That's where you guys can know him. You don't know him. I have had drinks with him. I'm friends with the guests. You're not. I'm better than you. Okay, there, we're done. Introductions are over. Thanks for coming, Magic.
No worries. No, thanks for nice to have me. Thanks for having me here. It's
it is good. It is good. Well, you're on a high at the moment, which is good. We won't have you on a depressive state. I suppose we'll just jump right into it. Just full disclosure, this might be a bit of a shorter episode. I do have a bus at 9:30 to get, and we have less games to discuss. So if you want me to miss my bus, hit with some more viewer questions, because that does waste so much time. So Magic, we'll just jump straight into it. Is that wine, first of all?
Maybe.
You're so classy.
Absolutely.
I love it. It's so classy. So DCU and UCC played yesterday. We'll start off, Ben. We'll see. Do you have any thoughts? What happened, Ben? What was the score? Who showed up? Who didn't?
Well, map 1 was it kind of just we had a watch party going for map 1, and everyone was really excited for the game. And map 1 was 16-2 to DCU, so I kind of ruined the watch party. Nobody was really bothered about the game anymore. So yeah, that was Vertigo 16-2. And then Mirage, it's a bit closer, 16-10. Yeah, it's kind of Vertigo. Everyone in DCU kind of showed up. Everyone was talking about Shirley. He was down there on 12. You know, well, I say down there, like they won 16-2. You know, not everyone can get all the kills. MTD and Bioko on 19. The rest are 17. And then map 2 was the Simplify show. He went crazy, 31 kills in 26 rounds. Pop off. Yeah.
I mean, we have the man himself here to talk us through it. So I suppose maybe just goes Vito first. How much preparation did you guys do going into this, or was there any in the DCU tradition?
In the DCU tradition, to follow our tradition, the preparation was extremely minimal. We more or less kind of spoke informally to the UCC guys in ICL pugs. Hey, what maps do you feel like playing? What maps do we not? And we both kind of agreed on, don't care as long as we both get a single ban each. So our ban, train, and whatever happened after that, we knew we would be happy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, pretty simplistic, but I mean, if it works, it works, and that it did. I think, like Ben was saying, we did have a viewing party here. Spoiler, we will keep doing that. I think it was fun, and I think it will be a lot better when games are a little bit closer. And like Ben said, the vibes going into it, very high. Everyone was getting their predictions in. Everyone was discussing who we think. People were saying UCC will definitely take a map, but maybe DC will pull it back. A lot of that sentiment. And then we were thoroughly disappointed to the point that Drags had to put on a stream of him watching the viewing party because he got bored of the viewing party and he wanted to get some subs on his Twitch. So I think that kind of it exemplifies it perfectly what that was. And Ryan, you caught the game live. You were in the viewing there. What did you think about the second map, since Vertigo just wasn't close at all?
I mean, we had Otter in afterwards, and he said they sort of like not through, but weren't really as bothered whenever it came into the second map. The classic Buchel excuse, you know, lads, it didn't really matter. We kind of gave up. Yeah. It was kind of upsetting actually, because on Vertigo, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Maciej, but it just looked like this sort of their style that worked against UCDA was sort of like, you know, keep running at them, holding W. You had Darkness just doing absolutely stupid things with the op. But they tried that against you. Once they got the opening pick, like they kind of pushed the extremities, but you guys just kind of stopped. and let them walk into you. There was a couple times where Bioko just killed someone because they walked into his crosshair, and Churley, or as we called him, Chutney, had a tendency as well. He just held a couple nice angles, and people just walked in and immediately gave the advantage right back.
So more or less that's what we noticed. So after our game last week, the one before, we caught a bit of the UCD and UCC game, and me and Bioko were watching it and came to the realization that they pushed a lot. So all we kind of had to do was just stay a bit back and wait for them to walk into our crosshairs, and they did.
Yeah, I mean, so simple, but I mean, it works. Like, it was definitely a dominant display, and it's interesting, like you're saying, Ryan, that like Otter had mentioned, the captain of UTC, for anyone that doesn't know, that they kind of took it a bit more laid back after the first map. They kind of just try and have a bit more fun. But at the same time, some other players on the team kind of didn't really feel that the same way. I know it was a frustrating defeat for the team, and I feel bad for them because what they are capable was not shown. And this is another classic Buka line where we didn't show up and they did. And as stupid and as unproductive as it is to say that, like, we've seen the talent that UCC have when they're on, and what DCU did to them, they were playing against a limp version of UCC, because UCC, the UCD Slayers, you know, they beat a team that maybe admittedly wasn't on the best form or in the best condition in terms of interpersonal relationships, as Ben shuts his door angrily. But like, I think coming up against DCU, like they just felt really flat. They didn't feel like they normally would. And man, what is wrong with
No, it's all right. Well, just professionalism.
Yeah, I know. It's just so distracting. So angry at that door. You good, Ben?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Okay. But yeah,
The joys of living at home again.
Yeah, but yeah, no. I think as fans, a little bit disappointed that UCC didn't give us the show that we thought they would. Magic, did you feel like they would be better? Like, not to rub dirt in the wounds, but what did you expect going into it?
So before we went into it, we expected a very close game. Like, we knew that Milk and Linny were extremely good players. Milk, very consistent player. We knew what we expected was a close game. We expected it to be along the lines of a 2-1 kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of took us by surprise, the Vertigo itself.
Yeah. I think Vertigo was so surprising.
Sean kind of did a run it back turbo to his last Vertigo game. He also dropped 5 on Vertigo again. You know.
Yeah.
Matt obviously doesn't like the map because.
Yeah. We were surprised they left it in. We were surprised they left Vertigo in.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of like 4 maps that we properly played.
Yeah, I think as well, even playing ICL Pugs earlier in the day with Charlie, seeing how good he was. Like Ryan was saying as well, it is mad how he bottom fragged for you guys, despite everyone talking. That was the major talking point, assuming it was going to be a close game. Charlie is the difference maker. His form right now has been ridiculous. And then what does he do going into this game? I imagine he was just taking it pretty chill, because you actually, Magic, you had a really good series. You stepped up in a game that mattered, and that's good to see. And then Bioko, as always, doing his bit. Like, Simplify is forever consistent in these tournaments. He's just like everyone else, just turned up. Charlie didn't even have to do his job, which kind of leads me into next week's game. We might skip over it because the transition's too smooth. And looking at the DCU TUD game, and the fact that Charlie wasn't even utilized in your series against a good team, what is DCU going to look like with Charlie activated against TUD? Ryan, we'll get to Magic for it after. But Ryan, what do you think going into next week's game?
I'm a little bit, I don't know. I'm a little bit hopeful because it's the sort of thing. I'm kind of glad in a way then that UCC didn't get past you guys, because if that's how they responded to you guys, you know, think about how bad it would have been against TUD as well. You know, they might have went into the first map not really trying, you know, not really caring too much either. With you guys at least, because we got to watch Charlie a bit at the ICL 5v5 there at the weekend, and he was just clutching just every single time he got put in a 1v. I actually kind of had a feeling that he was going to do something. I know with TUD, I think it's going to obviously be a lot closer. I'm going to predict that TUD probably take it, but I saw some discussion in the community saying that you guys might take a map, and then if you take a map, you know, think about how close the rest of it might end up being. So, you know, we'll obviously be looking to Charlie, but Bioko's no slouch either, you know.
Yeah, Ben, I suppose we'll actually go for prediction while we're on the topic, and I'll push you towards giving me a serious score here, Ryan. What are you going for? Are you going to go for the first time TUD will ever lose a map to what is an on-form DCU, or will the old Kings reign supreme again?
Fuck it. TUD 2-0.
Okay, okay. And Ben, do you have anything to add on to that? And then what would you expect? Which way would you think the series was going to go?
I'm kind of off like the mindset where it could be like a UCC versus DCU situation where like they've looked really good in the last match and we think they might take them up and then it might just end up like that game went, you know. I think it'll be a bit closer than that last game was now. But I still think I'll predict TUD 2-0. I'd love to see you guys take a map off them, but I'm just not sure, you know.
And then finally, the only opinion and thought process that actually matters. Magic, how are you feeling going into next week's game?
So we're feeling good. We're feeling good in the sense that I think we can take a map off them, and whatever happens after that happens. And I think the deciding factor is that well, what's making me feel good is that Turley and Bioka right now, it feels like we can always rely on them in clutch situations. They always pull something out. Like on Vertigo, Turley had like a 2v5 that we just should not have won, and Turley just decided that we were going to win it. And Bioka with similar ones, it just with them two being so reliable and David just being an absolute monster right now on whenever he chooses to be one.
Yeah,
I'm feeling confident in that we can take a map, and whatever happens after that happens.
yeah, yeah. I think it's just a testament to how good they are. That the most optimistic thinking you can get is that you may be able to take a map, which is just testament to how good they actually are.
Well, it's not that I'm not optimistic, it's that I don't want to get ahead of myself. And to not discredit them at all, TUD are fantastic players individually. Granted, they are weaker this year than they were in previous years with the lack of the likes of Extinct.
Yeah.
But they are still a very solid team and the best we're going to face. So
yeah, I mean, I think whoever wins this realistically will win the tournament. So like there is that added pressure as well. And I suppose we can talk about the next matchup afterwards and what we think the final will end up looking like. We've actually got Cass coming on from.
What's your prediction, by the way? Or did I zone out? Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going for, Magic?
See, like
your own boys.
I've got to back my own boys. Like I can't not back my own boys. I'm gonna say a 2-1 to us.
Okay. I will go. I really don't want to say 2-0 TUD because it's just so boring, but it's so hard to imagine. And I think Ben's predictions have been pretty spot on so far, and I think we maybe could even be let down by in the same way we were with the UCC situation, where a pretty tightly knit game. You know, I think stylistically you both play pretty similar. You both just have really talented players that will just win aim duels. But what happens when you're equally, if not slightly less talented than some of these guys? I don't know how individually you will match up. And I think it'll come down to maybe calls. I think that's maybe, I don't want to say a weak point for either team, because obviously you've got some class callers, but not very well rehearsed calling in that you don't play that structured CS. You kind of just, like we've all seen the round, where you go A, Mirage pistol round, rush C2 to B. Like that wasn't a pre-planned strat. I don't think that was kind of just sure we just do this, we're better. So I think it'll be interesting to see when both teams are doing that, who will come out on top. I think I will go 2-1 TUD. Mind you, keeping in mind, I would love to see DCU win, just because everyone wants to see TUD drop a map, see if God can bleed. And then even if you do take a map, that's a phenomenal achievement that no one has done before. So I think just go in, play your own game, and I think you'll be putting on a phenomenal show for everyone, because I think everyone's cheering for you, quite frankly.
And
the plan is to put on a good show for the viewing party, you know?
Yeah.
The straw poll as well went 4 votes to TUD.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think anyone's too surprised. So moving backwards a little bit, just of last week, because we did skip forward a little bit. So we also had 3 other games. I think one of them interesting. So we'll start with that one. So TUD and Trinity. Now I think everyone and their mother was in Quigs' stream at 5 p.m. sharp for some reason, watching them almost do it. Actually, Ben, did you catch the stream at all, or will I give it to someone educated?
pass it to Ryan there. I only caught the back end here, so.
Okay, Ryan, what were your impressions of the series?
I was initially kind of impressed because TCD managed to get a pretty decent. They got the dream start essentially. You know, you get CT side Mirage, you get the first 5 rounds. Your economy's looking pretty decent, but then just to contrast that, so that's how you start, and then you end with the sawed-off shotgun from Cass, finding a couple people here or there. It's sorry, it's just a classic. You know, get a decent start against TUD, then get slapped by the end of it. I was a little bit disappointed. It felt like the second game. Hold on, was it? Yeah, it was on Nuke. It kind of felt like nothing was really working for them, and I think that might just be a testament to how well TUD play as a unit. I think TUD might have gave up a couple of rounds just purely based off having a good time and not really caring too much. You literally had, I think, at one point, one guy going solo outside and just taking aim duels with whoever would fight him. It was a bit like a bar fight, and somehow, you know, he would die one time, he might actually get 2 kills the next. They're just kind of having a good time, and I think, you know, commiserations to TCD, but you're out of here.
Yeah, I think I was actually very pleasantly surprised. I kind of thought Trinity weren't as good as they are. I didn't think they would beat UU as much as I kind of hoped they would, just to piss off Ben. I thought UU would actually take that. Like, I've played them in scrims, and Quigs hates when I bring this up, but we beat them in a scrim. One map, our good map, granted, but they had their full team. Like, I didn't really think they were this good, but obviously it shows the level they can reach. And like, listening to the stream, they were all very laid back, which actually surprised me considering how relatively competitive it was. I thought everyone would be a bit more tense, would be a little bit more, you know, really heavily trying to call strats. They're all laughing and having a good time, which is always good to see. And maybe that's the key to beating a team like this. Who knows? But yeah, commiserations. It was a good series, and I think actually, I don't say they could take a map. It could be even closer had Quigs not had such a dog shit series. Because for what is objectively their second best player, he didn't show up. And I think he would definitely be a big factor in that. And he did put his hands up afterwards. He had a shit series. It happens. I get it. But Ekip needed someone else up there with him. And credit to the other guys, like the likes of Kronk, the rest of them, Retzal, they pulled their weight. And Retzal finally did it. He did outfrag Quigs. There's a bit of an ongoing relationship there, we'll call it. So congratulations, Yannick. You outfragged Quigs. You can talk as much shit as you want now. But yeah, it was a fun game. It was worth watching. If the VOD's still out, I encourage people to watch it. Magic, were you in that Twitch chat, or did you hear anything about that game, or what happened?
So I didn't get to catch all of it. I caught, I want to say, like the last 10-ish rounds of Mirage when someone sent me the stream being like, holy shit, TUD isn't smashing someone.
Yeah.
And it gave me some perspective that, hey, TUD are not the TUD of every year. They're still great, but they're not as good as they would normally be.
Yeah, I think I do think that's a good point as well, because they did lose 9 rounds. They lost 10 rounds to MTUB. They lost 9 rounds to UCC. Like, they're bleeding a little bit more than they used to in previous seasons. It feels like maybe that's just a foggy memory, but that's kind of what it feels like. Keep in mind that they do troll in the majority of their games, and rounds that they lose,
it's kind of
very often.
on my mind as well.
Yeah.
Like this, it's good they got like 12 rounds of TD, but like I did in the Nuke game, especially see Cass like running around with a sawed off and a deagle, you know, on like buy rounds, stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
Do you think
they were maybe winning some solid rounds, but there's other rounds that TUD probably could have tried.
Do you think though that they'll know when to turn that off? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we saw 16-12. It's close. It's not, you know, it's still 16-14. Obviously, is the closest you can get, but there was still the sawed off coming out there. Do you think there could be a way for, if TUD try to do that against DCU, it just gives DCU a way back in? You know, at the very end of the game when things are a little bit tighter economically.
I think TUD would be stupid to do that. I think they need to take this game seriously, genuinely, because they're not playing with MTUB anymore. You know, they're playing against the only team that can touch them right now, and it would be ridiculous for them to. Now, to be fair, if they do and it works out, I eat my shit. They are gods, because if they can win a game with Cass running around with a shotgun against this caliber of team, then they're just unbeatable, and there's no point even, because what's the point, right? Because I think this would be the only game that would make sense for them to actually sweat it. Not that I think they will, but I mean, I think it'd be crazy if they let any round slip, because I get the game's about having fun, but they are playing for money at the end of the day, as little as it is. And like the potentially screwing themselves out of it by just having fun against a team that they would normally beat. I think we all know it's an upset if DCU win, right? Like there's no second doubting that. I don't think. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to this game. I just don't want it to be a repeat of last week or yesterday with the UCC boys. But we'll move on. We've talked about that enough. And next week, like I said, we will get insight from Cass. And finally, like, no one ever really kind of talks to the TUD guys more so about them and how good they are. Be interesting to see what their insight and the degree of which they are trolling. I think that's something we all assume they're trolling, but maybe Cass is their wild one that's just doing what he wants with the shotgun, and the rest of them are playing
the JW.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll see next week. So some other games on that I said we're seeing NCI and WIT. I think it's impressive from WIT to get this far without, like, everyone's talked about Kerbenji leaving and whether Kerbenji's coming back or not, all that stuff. They still got to the quarterfinals. Like, there's no way I can shit on them for that. Now, the score, I can shit on them a little.
Yeah.
NCI absolutely dismantled them. Like, watching a little bit of that stream, NCI just looked too good. The combo of Jackmon and Combat King is just ridiculous. Like, it's one of the best duos in the scene right now, I think. Just in terms of what they bring to the team. So commiserations to WIT anyway. Look, it was always going to be a hard game for you guys. That side of the bracket, I don't think you would ever really get too much further with this roster. But I saw some player, Adzo, something along those lines. His Inferno was insane. You can bring up the stats. I just have the eye test. How did he finish the game?
20
he got 20 frags in his next highest, and the team's 13. So
yeah, I mean, he obviously he slowed down a bit, but like he had some crazy rounds. 3K sprays defending the side in the zone with an M4. Shit like that. Like he just really, he was the standout player for me in that series. And we didn't maybe see WIT at their best this game. I could definitely see they had a few struggles in the group stage. A few teams taking more rounds than they potentially should have. Certain UL 3 sports teams and the likes of them. Maybe it's B Sports. I get confused with them. They're all the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
3 sports. Yeah, I think 3 sports actually threw against WIT. But I think maybe next season, if they get Kerbenji back, I think it'll be interesting. Magic, these guys were in your group. What did you think of them, and what were the scores in your game?
Well, about the scores, we 16-0'd them on one of the maps.
Okay, yeah.
The other map was Inferno, and that one was closer. I'll give them that. That one was 16-11, I think, or 16-10, something like that.
Okay.
And
yeah, 16-0. Okay.
Yeah. That was it was obvious they were lacking. They were lacking some form of either like firepower and team play kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
it was a bad omen last week when they went to OT on the third map against an MTU without Nalco. Not saying it. I didn't ever really think MTU was the Nalco show, though he was obviously their best player. Like, but still, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they definitely had weaknesses, but I think a team to look out for next season, definitely, especially if they get Kerbenji back. I mean,
from what I spoke to Near, he said that Kerbenji's like a 60-70 on coming back.
Okay, I mean, we like those odds. It'll bring more competition. He's definitely a solid player. And then the other game, we've had a few questions about as well. We've got Cubers and mag1c. Ryan, you were on the scene. What the fuck was the shit show of this game?
I mean, I just caught the first map, I'll be honest. Like, there was internet problems coming out the wazoo. I think, was it not like near enough an hour after it was supposed to start, it actually got underway? I think it was just pretty much like, at the end of the day, mag1c are unfortunately unfortunately if you're Cubers, but they're just a better team. I like one or two of the guys on Cubers, but they avoid calling them the A, B, and C team. But we all know, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. They just got outplayed in the end, 16-10 and a 16-12, a little bit closer on the second map. I don't honestly, they had to use a stand-in as well for the second map. One of their players kept spiking. I believe he's in halls, so it's not even like you can just switch the router on and off.
I think it's just a Virgin Media issue in Northern Ireland.
No, because that's funny. I was even blaming that in the chat, and the guy came in and was like, "Nah, honestly, it's just whatever was wrong with the halls that night." Everyone was just getting screwed. So yeah, it's unfortunate that it happens at this point in the bracket. I suppose the only way to avoid it is rescheduling it, and I think they were going to before it started, but they just eventually decided to soldier on.
Yeah, I think we've got an interesting question as well. I don't normally like to incorporate the viewer questions this early, but Ronan from Cubers asked the reason being behind their game not being streamed was due to conflict of interest concerns. However, on the ICE League of Legends, 2 TUD teams are playing. Ryan, you're probably the ideal person to ask here. What are your thoughts on this? In what way is it a conflict of interest for 2 college teams to play against each other? What were they concerned about? And why? Just give me some of your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I like how you split it up, because first of all, I don't like. Okay, it is a conflict of interest, but it's like whenever you guess the right person on Among Us, but you guessed it for dumbass reasons, and you're just right. At the end of the day, just because you got it right doesn't make it good. It's a conflict of interest because in theory, right, not that this happened, but we could make up a hypothetical where Cubers think, right, QB back 6 can probably match up better against TUD. So even though we have a chance of beating them, we'll, take it a little bit slower. That way a Queen's team might stand a chance of beating TUD, because even though you might be able to beat QB back 6, you might match up well against TUD if it's like stylistic or whatever you think in your head. Also, on the flip side, Ronan helps put a lot of these teams together. So in theory, the back 6 boys might think, maybe we'll lose against them, and that way he doesn't kick any of us out of the A team. Or just, not that he's that kind of person, but that's just what it opens up. Now, it's not the conflict of interest is that they're playing each other, not that they're being streamed. So and I think the fact that ICE are doing TUD versus TUD in league, unless it's a final, no, it's a semi-final. So yeah, I think they're just making shit up. At the end of the day, because they even opened the second stream, which is the first time I think that's ever happened, correct me if I'm wrong, and It wasn't even for a good game. I don't think anyone's really gonna say or try to argue the counterpoint. So as I said, it's right that it's a conflict of interest, even in the most ludicrous sense. It's still a conflict of interest, but the fact that it's being streamed is just absolute nonsense. Thank God they didn't choose it, though, with all the internet issues. But no, they're just completely wrong, and it doesn't make any sense, in my opinion.
It turned out it was the right decision, but not for the right reason. Like, the internet issues, obviously, didn't know that. It was just, I don't know, it seemed a bit like they were doing the QB teams a bit dirty. Like, one or two of them weren't streamed, at all. I think Cubers weren't streamed. Is that right? Or was it?
I'm not.
I'm not sure.
Ronan
for some reason, I remember Ronan saying that they weren't streamed. I could be wrong. Maybe only the once either. But it does seem a little bit weird. They had 2 streams open. Neither of them was that game, which is a derby match between 2 colleges. And then that bullshit fucking excuse. I don't get that at all, to be honest. I think that's a bit ridiculous. But we'll get back there. We'll see. We can readdress that with the conversation with Gambra we'll have, and we can if there's any more questions on that, we'll get back to that.
If I can make a single comment on that, my comment would be that I think ICE should be a bit more transparent with how they choose their streams.
Okay, with everything,
Well, yeah, but even when it comes to the streaming, they should be more transparent with how they choose which teams get streamed, because then maybe teams wouldn't be as annoyed that they're not being streamed.
I can this. So the process is pretty much heavily based on casters. So it's done by caster availability first, and followed by what casters think will be the best game. And as well as that, the decision is also weighted against who has/has not been streamed. So it's a bit of a formula there. So say there's multiple casters available, they can decide, okay, we think this is objectively the best game. Then one of the admins these guys are yet to be streamed. they'll weigh up whether they think the game's good enough to outweigh that. That's kind of what I have in my mind for what they're doing, from what I know. I think it's still kind of flawed. I think maybe the best game should always be streamed, and the fact that they're only getting around to the B stream now is crazy to me, because it shows they could have been doing this the entire season. There's so many good games that they missed.
It's at least a step in the right direction for next season, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we want to also do the first half of that question, or do we want to move on? Because the first half was just about the differences between the university leagues, streaming restrictions and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, okay. We'll come back to that. You know, we'll do all the other questions. We'll be get there in a second. We just want to look at. We've only have one more thing to talk about. QUB against NCI. The back six. This is QUB. We go for Magic. First of all, predictions, and how do you think this match will fare?
My prediction is NCI. I'm not sure of the map score. Not sure what depends on the maps being played, but I do think NCI are going to win it.
Okay. Would you say it's a 2-0, or do you reckon it'll be close, or what do you feel?
In my opinion, that depends on the maps.
Okay. Yeah, it is. I suppose that's fair enough.
God damn it.
If back six lets something like a Mirage through, in my opinion, 2-0.
Yeah, Ryan, you're jumping out of your seat. What are
I'm trying to force a map, a series score out of you. Come on, just throw it out there, because at the end of the day, people pick on us for our things, not really the game.
All right, fine. I'll let people pick on me. I'm gonna believe in my boys. I'm gonna say 2-0 NCI.
Okay,
there we go.
Interesting. Ryan, what are you expecting for the series?
So my head, if I was gonna buy into the hype of the whole scene, because I have a feeling that most people are gonna favor back six because of this. Sorry, let me get my air quotes. Tactical style. Like, based on prep, some people are saying that it would be QB. I want NCI to win purely because, like, I want to be shown something by back six. They did decently in groups, you know. When it came against TUD, they got smashed. There was mitigating circumstances, so that's fair enough. But then the fact that it still went 16-12 against the Cubers with a stand-in. Now, I understand they probably scrim each other quite a bit, but I just want to be shown something. And I do think that mixture of Jackman and Comeback King is pretty fucking nuts, to be honest. And I think, did UCC go 1-for-1 with back six, wasn't it? Yes, because we sort of predicted that it would be the clash of the two styles. And I think you're probably going to find the same thing with NCI. They're just going to come out swinging. And if they can outfrag back six, again, the whole tactical element doesn't mean dick if you can't hit a headshot at the end of the day.
Yeah. So what are you going for then?
Fuck it. 2-0, I think. If it goes into 2-1 territory, it's probably back six might grind it out. So I'll go with the 2-0.
Yeah. And Ben, what have you got?
Honestly, well, I know we talk about, or everyone focuses on the fact that back six like practice all their strats, and that side of things. And I don't even think that's like a huge factor. They still have insane individual players, like Gonzor and Pinhead Larry stuff. You know, they can pop off anyway. I don't know. I think it's really boring. I think it's gonna be like one of the closest games we have, and it's going to be a banger semi. But I'm going to predict QUB take it 2-1. I think, like, again, as Magic said, I think like NCI can win like a puggier map, like a Mirage. But if they end up going to something like a train or something, I'd really favor back six on those kind of maps, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to say back six 2-1. I've only had one wrong prediction so far. Well, I predicted the right team to win every time, you know, not map score.
Well, no, you said Cubers were going to win last week.
I mean, like, I got to back Ronin's Ben, you know?
Yeah. A loss is a loss, mate. I'll not let you forget it.
I think I really want NCI to win. It's just fun to see them win. Just based stylistically, I think they're just interesting to watch. But I think the map pool is so important, like you guys were saying. Like, I don't think back six will touch them on a puggy map. I just think they'll play them into their own strength. And I think back six probably have a decent map pool at this point. They've realistically been doing their homework for a while now. So I actually will think back six will take the series. I really don't want to bet against NCI because it's fun to see them, but I have to go back 6-2-0. I think if they can get rolling with these strats, I just don't know if I trust in NCI calling. I don't know if anyone's going to really rival that of back 6 weeks of practice when it's literally just going to be the NCI guys turning up, trying to hit their headshots. They're playing two very different games. NCI are like, we'll kill them, we'll win. Back 6 have a whole little level of meta games. They're thinking, okay, we've watched this demo. They're probably analyzing realistically, and he's a hard to analyze. But the duo of Comeback King and Jackbon, they've been watched. Like, I'd be very surprised to hear that back 6 haven't done their homework on them. And quite frankly, they'll be shooting themselves in the foot if they don't. If they watch these demos, you can see the pathing, where they go on the entries. You can shut them out with 2 pieces of utility if you do your homework, I think back 6 will do this, and I hope they do, because it'll be for an exciting match. I like Ben said, I think it's an absolute cracker of a game. So I definitely will be looking forward to that, and both games better be getting streamed. That's a direct one for Ice. You better stream both of these, because you can't miss out. You just can't.
Can I give some thoughts on this NCI QB back 6 game? So my thoughts on this are that I think stylistically, I don't think the strats matter as much as people give them credit for in a nice game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason for that is when you've got such insane players such as Comeback King, this one single man is the only person I've played against that still gives me flashbacks to when he can single-handedly carry his own team on his entire back, even when he didn't have Jackmon.
Yeah.
And now you've got Jackmon in peak form. And I think the duo of them can smash through QB back 6 just because I watched them play and they seem like nice lads. But I don't think aim-wise they compare to Comeback King and Jackmon.
Okay, yeah,
And
I would say that's fair.
And I think a lot of the time, from what I've noticed, a lot of the time, they sit with their nades out, which is just peak moment for one of the NCI guys like Comeback King or Jackmon or even Zoff Beef, I don't know how to pronounce his name, apologies, to just walk in and aim them down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of the time they can just get caught out trying to do their strats rather than paying attention to trying to click ahead.
Yeah.
Interesting point. And I suppose I can visualize that for certain maps, but the fact that UCC lost to them on train, or no, they lost in scrims, in the official UCC, but since back 6 cleaned up their act on the likes of train, I think from what Otter was saying, they're cracked. They're really good. Their timings are really good. But like you said, if they're spending so much time, defaulting, getting map control, trying to set up for nades, what the fuck are they going to do? Comeback King runs through them with 3 headshots, and Jackmon's there swinging his dick behind him. Like they're not touching that.
Swinging his monster cock.
Swinging his monster cock, yes, as he's now known by.
That's the one. And the other thing I'm basing this off of is the TUD matchup, because it's the same stylistic matchup of TUD are just going to go click heads. Yeah. And NCI are going to do the same thing. So if they haven't cleaned up their act of how do we play against someone who is just going to click heads, then I think they're going to lose.
Yeah.
If they've cleaned up their act, then fair play. If they haven't, then it's the same situation.
Yeah, I think actually very good points there, to be fair. Yeah, I think I'm a lot more excited for this game than I was at the start of the show. Actually, it'd be interesting to see in the chat what people will think. Will QUB back 6 with their infinite strat book take on Comeback King, Jackmon, and co? Be interesting to see.
Yeah, there was 7 votes for QUB and only 4 for NCI, so it seems the majority of people are going QUB.
Interesting. Okay, I think that probably would be the favorite as well, but the TUD point is definitely worth bringing up. I think that leaves it there for that section, so we can finally go on to tackling some of these viewer questions. We have addressed a few of these already. If anyone has any additional ones, feel free to put them in either our Discord or in the chat, and we will go through them as I am now scrolling up. Okay, so we've got more. We've got questions on the NCI game. Okay, one from Simplify. What do we think of the bracket shenanigans? We've kind of addressed that a few times already, but in short, I think a lot of teams have kind of had a lot of issues with the way the brackets were done, with the seedings, everything from the start. Actually, everyone's had problems with the groups and the final seedings, to be fair. Everyone but TD, doesn't really affect them. Does anyone have any new groundbreaking thoughts that they've spent all night thinking about, or is it just the same old? Wasn't that great?
Yeah, honestly,
not really.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Ren.
No, it's probably different for you guys because you guys are actually playing. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, who gives a fuck? You have to play TUD at some point. And we even saw one of the main highlights was, TUD and UCD air on the same side of the bracket. Yeah, well, it didn't matter because UCC cleaned that up for everyone, didn't they? Like, you know what I mean? So it's only really DCU versus TUD that people can be annoyed about at this point, and it's happening in the semis. So you know what I mean? Like, the two best teams don't always meet each other in the final. It'd be preferable, but you can't really always engineer it that way. So yes, it being left down to one person who wasn't even 100% sure on the rosters, it's unfortunate, and it probably screwed the groups up a little bit. But in my opinion, the playoffs have turned out to be all right. As well as can be expected in an ice tournament whenever most games are 2-0.
Yeah. Okay, we're getting a lot more questions, so I'm going to try.
And I might add a little bit of thoughts to that. And my thoughts to that are that while Gambra does absolutely great work on the server admin side, I do think he should reach out for help when it comes to seeding groups. Just because players change, teams change, forms change, and there's a lot of resources out there or even people out there you can ask for a bit of help on how to seed the groups. Because while the brackets, more or less, let's be real, the only difference would have been where people meet TUD, which you're right. I think the groups could have been a bit better laid out.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely address these concerns a lot more in depth when we have Gamera on the podcast. Will get us thinking, and it's a good time for you guys to relay your feedback to him in a respectful manner. We will say.
Respect the man; he does a lot of work. Respect
and he does it what I imagine for free. So he's putting his time into the scene. We can't really give him too much shit for it. We got an interesting one here just there from what I imagine has to be someone from back six, or at least the college, saying, just to clarify, you guys think that NCI will win because two players will be able to run around and frag the back six players. Ryan, foaming at the mouth. What do you think in response to that? Do you think it's that simple? Do you think we put it poorly, or do you think he's not prepared?
I mean, I had literally typed out a reply. Yeah, that's why we thought UCC would beat UCDA. You know, like at the end of the day, the whole thing about two players being able to run around, that's all you really need is two players to pop off. And I agree with what Magic was saying with people being caught with their nades out. I think that speaks to people not having the individuality to split off every now and again. Like, obviously long gone from the scene, only played one season, but one of my friends, Flotac or Marky Mark, whatever, he literally told me that he would be told a strat, I'd be like, come back A, we're gonna hit A, guys, and he would still be crouch walking backwards out of mid on Mirage because he knows that even though everyone's running back, someone might still peek out and he might still get a kill, and that could change the whole round. And like these, at the end of the day, people remember you guessing the underdog is going to win. So it's entertainment at the end of the day, but I do actually think NCI could beat back six because I'm yet to be impressed.
Yeah, so I've got similar feelings of I'm yet to be impressed by their individual form. Yeah. And in a place where you're playing with huge skill disparities because of the nature of college tournaments, I don't think strats matter as much as people give them credit for.
Okay.
As proven by the likes of TUD, UCD, UCD to a point, DCU, and UCC.
Yeah. I think he kind of puts it in a way that we're idiots, and he kind of like strawmans us a little bit.
He does. I agree, because like we did give fleshed out thoughts on why we think those players are going to frag out and why that would be enough. We didn't just say, hey, these players are going to frag out and haha, that's enough.
It's also not like they're normal players.
Anyone's in ICL, you see a level 7 Jack on top on the board every time against level 10s,
it's not like it's any two players. It's fucking Combat King. Have you played against this guy?
He's that man up, and he will carry the whole team on his back.
Yeah, and then one of the QBs saying,
hold on, you cut out there.
Oh, sorry. One of the other back six guys. It is fair. Carries happen, and it's just the nature of the game. I do think it's not to say that the three other players aren't doing anything. I think if they do their role, which is be competent, I don't know how good they are. I've heard some good things actually about the remaining players of their roster. I think they rounded out really well, but I think we can only speak to form. Comeback King's form always superb, right? Jacobon's form is why he's standing out to us and why we think NCI are good. Because if you don't play in these games like ICL, in the ICL 5v5s, things like this, you don't see firsthand how fucking cracked this bastard is. I played an ICL game against him, I think yesterday on Nuke. I run top silo on Nuke, right? He destroys me with one bullet. Like one bullet. Like he's just beyond. I don't think as
The
many
man-
nades as you're gonna throw.
The
He
man gets 40 kills in regulation against level 10s and overpass.
like
Yeah.
he's something else.
But don't
So,
worry, guys.
yeah.
We're all drunk. We don't know what we're talking about.
Yes,
It's
yes. So we've got another question. I just got a DM, so the other one, because don't DM me the questions. There's a viewer chat led in, please. But he said, if NCI were to practice up before the final, if they win against back six, would NCI stand a chance against TUD? So he's assuming TUD beat DCU. So what do we think about the NCI TUD matchup? Well, what do we reckon?
No.
Yeah, I'm there too. Yeah, no.
Has anyone got
Thanks for the
NCI?
question, Ledian.
Yeah, thanks, mate. We're moving on. Has anyone got that being close?
10 rounds
No.
are close? Or...
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
DCU are probably the best chance we have as the people to take down TUD. So you're the people's team now, Magic. Yeah, I
We're
don't.
going to do
I
our
don't know.
best for the people.
Yeah, I think NCI are good, but I just think DCU have a better 5. I think NCI have some really good pieces, but as a 5, I don't know if I could see them in maybe all having life games. Potentially, like NCI, do keep in mind they took 14, they lost 16-14 the season before. So like it was relatively close. I'm getting a lot of questions here. Okay, next one. What do you think about teams such as UCC, DCU, UCD losing great players, and how do you think it'll affect the following season? Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, next season is going to be really interesting. Like TUD are losing players, like UCC losing a lot. UCD, I think it'll really open things up next year. But I think as per ICE, like winter season's always decided by the first years that come into college, or the players that just come out of the woodwork out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Like nobody would have rated UCC last season, and then all of a sudden they get like 2 good players and they're insane. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think every season it can really be shook up, other than the likes of TUD, who are always going to be insane.
yeah,
I think it's going to be interesting to see the winter season.
yeah. I think I do think the winter season is by far the most interesting because you see a lot more teams. Now I don't know if we'll get 27 teams ever again because that is ridiculous. But if we can, I think they'll look very different. It'll be interesting to see for teams that have A and B, who moves up, who moves down, who's leaving, stuff like that. Like maybe NUIG could do with a bit of a shift, I think. Teams like that. And then Otter himself, this is who asked this question, was what we think of what UCC will end up looking like as Otter, Linny, Milk are all stepping down. For anyone that doesn't know.
For
because
about 2
Otter-
weeks.
Yeah, Otter has posted this probably everywhere that he is retiring. What do we think of that team losing those 3 key elements? Ben, I know you're pretty close with the 3 guys.
The team's just got it after that, like, isn't it?
Team, yeah,
Like
team's
realistically, you're losing your 2 best players. I really rate Sean and Darkness as well, but Lenny and Matt have just been insane for UCC. I know, like, Darkness, even though like a lot of the players might have like some issues with like Otter, like they really rate his calling, and they really think he's a really solid caller when it comes down to those like high pressure moments. So
Yeah.
it's I don't know what it's gonna end up like. Ankle joints will be in there.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say,
You know,
shout
that's-
out to
that's-
ankle
that's a
joints.
plus.
Yeah.
Plus 1 fragger. They just need an IGL now. Maybe one of the Seans.
Yeah.
3 Seans there. One of
That's
the
a
Seans
core
will
of
pick it up,
3 Sean. Yeah. I've heard. I think Darkness was thinking about giving it a go. I think that would be a shout. He's probably the obvious candidate. I think it'll be an interesting team. It depends who the other 2 are. I don't think they really necessarily need a hard carry, and it'll be good to see now that Linny and Milk are gone, putting underscore Sean into a star role or whatever the fuck role he wants to play is what they need to do, because now he is their player. He is their guy, as good as the other two can and sometimes are. And if like everyone's inconsistent, right? Underscore Sean is their guy. They need to set him up in the most comfortable positions possible from this point on, I think. I don't think the team's bad now, actually. I still rate them. I think that core of 3 is good. I think they could do bits. I think they probably will get out of groups. Again, it'll depend on what the brackets, everything looks like next season, right? But obviously they are objectively a little worse. Oh, what's going on?
No, it's fine. I'm just doing prep and stuff.
Okay.
We're still in the normal screen.
Okay, great. My screen's gone something different for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's a downgrade, but is what it is. I think they'll come back strong if they're smart. They will continue the practice schedule they have, because that's been one of the most impressive things so far this season. The UCC work ethic, just beating teams, just outright. Anyone else have anything to add, or will I keep?
Yeah, I think we can go on. Although, to be fair, yeah, I'm looking forward to Ankle Joints joining, because I watched in the ICL 5v5. He clattered a couple of no-namers like in the first round, a little bit. It was a close game, but
his team did. He actually shit the bed.
Yeah, but he showed up.
Yeah.
Heard something along the lines of Figgy washed was
okay. Stop that. Another question. Oh, this one's for us. What can we expect from the podcast over the off season? To be truthful, probably fuck all.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, probably nothing. I imagine we'll do a season 2 next. We actually haven't talked about it, but I imagine we'll do season 2, assuming everything goes well, for our next season. And I imagine Ryan will keep doing his content. Very good. Everyone make sure you subscribe. Some really bangers. Some really good bangers.
Yeah, because I get consistently near 100 and I have like 50 subs. So you know what I mean? Fucking sort yourselves out.
You should do one of those things that YouTubers do, like over 50% of you aren't subscribed.
Nah, I put it in my own words at the end of videos sometimes,
Okay, we've got a few more questions somewhere. Does anyone else see anything in the YouTube chat? Or actually, what do we think the standout players are for back 6? And do we think they have the star power to take down TD? I'm assuming these questions are coming from, or at least some of the back 6 friends. I know you don't have the star power to take down TD. I don't think you're even close. We all were excited for your matchup, and then everyone tuned out of the broadcast halfway through because TUD were just destroying you.
Yeah.
I don't think you have the star power to do it. I think even with the amount of practice that you could do, I don't think you can touch them. I just don't. I think the only team, like I think Ruben in the chat actually, I definitely would be inclined to agree. I think the only team that can touch TUD now is DCU. And that's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, Magic. But yeah, I think that's it. Anyone? No, I think that's actually all the questions there.
Yeah, there was that. Wait, do you have to be out relatively like nowish, don't you?
I can do 1 or 2 more questions.
No, it was just about Ronan's one for the restrictions over like university streaming and stuff. I'll just like kind of fly over it. Because I know a little bit about it, and it's essentially like, in my opinion, that would also fix the whole thing about universities crying about their games not being shown, because if it was a little bit less strict, more universities might be open to working with ICE to showing their own games and the likes, because I know there's been a few issues with a couple of the different universities. And yeah, like I asked one of the representatives from Newell what they thought of this, and they pretty much were just like, what do you mean? What do you mean rules? What do you mean control? And I was like, all right, great. So you guys aren't egotistical. Great. Well, obviously, they're a corporation. All corporations are kind of soulless at the end. But they do have like incentives that you don't have to sign anything, but you can avail of their like Uni Heroes thing, which gives universities incentives to stream their games and stuff like that. So yeah, short answer is it's kind of dumb, and it leads to a lot of issues, in my opinion, that could be fixed better, and it would give more people the ability to cast more, and you might get more organic talent, because right now, if you don't cast for ICE, you cast for ICL. And that
we'll plug in that. That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's all the questions. I think we will leave it there. I think that's actually everything. Yeah, don't think there's much more to go. Big thank you for everyone for tuning in. Like I said, we have Cass on from TD next week, so make sure you get your view questions in now. I mean, we got most of them tonight on the night, so it doesn't really matter. But I prefer if you did it in advance, so we can actually prepare a little bit.
Yeah.
And huge thank you to Magic for coming on for this insight. And I think the people's team, we wish you all the best of luck. Oh, I think the stream's gotten a little bit.
Yeah, no, OBS disconnected for a second, and then it says it's back now. The quality might be a bit shite, but
Yeah, I think I can count the pixels on my head. That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's whatever. Yeah, so I think that'll do it from all of us here. So we'll see you next week, the same
for having me
time as per usual. Yeah, and everyone, please wish DCU the best of luck, as they are the people's team, as we have branded them. So good luck, DCU, and thanks to everyone for watching. The VOD will be up right now, I hope, so you can go back, share it around. I'll make an announcement in the Discord. Make sure you join a Discord. Make sure you subscribe to Fleming's channel for all of these and more if you care about the scene and if you like children. No, but puppies and babies.
that's a bit fucking rude. I mean, my channel is not here for nonsense. Holy
Well, you're based on your guest
cut it
list.
off, cut
I
it off.
beg to differ, Ryan. No, I'm just talking. I'm talking shite.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll end it there, I hope. So thanks for watching.
Yeah, ciao.